Weather portion of Ag Week now. We're going to start off with the surface water index. This, again, a product that comes to us out of the University of Washington, which has found a different way of modeling surface water, and I found it to be quite accurate. What's remarkable about the surface water across the northern plains this week, as of the midweek, is that across most of western Minnesota, northeast South Dakota, vast majority of North Dakota and Montana, conditions have gone back to near normal or a little bit drier than average, and this has happened in just a week. This was all wetter than average last week. What happened was very dry fall, very dry winter across these areas, dry spring up until 2 weeks of rain, which saturated the soils briefly, but that water's all soaked in. It's still quite wet across Nebraska, the Sioux City to Sioux Falls area and up around Duluth. This is the region which picked up so much heavy snowfall during the winter and so had a nice percolation and got plenty of moisture recharged this spring. Another interesting thing that's happened this week is up in the Arctic, the so-called Arctic Oscillation, the big circulation around the North Pole, which 2 weeks ago shifted from sharply, strongly positive to strongly negative, has now gone from strongly negative back into a much more neutral phase. So the winds are a little more circularly circumnavigating the Arctic regions, and you find that with that has come a return to a slightly less blocked up atmosphere across the northern plains. We're still dealing with fairly high amplitude, so for the moment we've got this ridge of high pressure over the northern plains, southwestern parts of the prairie provinces, which is why we've been so hot the last few days. That will gradually subside as the week goes through. We'll get into a little more typical springtime weather pattern with very cool weather being brought down into south central Canada and some of that spilling southward into the northern plains. In other words, our weather is going to be cooling down. Now, as far as moisture goes, this week there will be showers in the northern plains. The west coast will be quite dry. I don't see any precipitation out there. Probably at least one more round of big storms through the middle west. I don't know that this will bring huge, widespread heavy rain, but certainly some stormy weather. And the region southeast of Lake Michigan, like around Chicago and over to around Ohio, they just can't find spring. It continues to be cool and wet there. Showers in the northern plains, probably not soakers, but some showers this week. Next week, the west coast will continue to be quite dry. I am expecting another round in that mid part of May, the 14th through the 20th, through the Midwest and the Southeast. This one also will likely bring some heavy rains, and I'm expecting the northern plains to go back to generally fairly cool and fairly dry. So that's the general outlook. What are we talking about? Putting it down into brass tacks, not so warm weather across the northern plains for the next couple of weeks. Showers this week, but probably not soakers. And as for the upcoming summer, I'm still expecting it to be warmer than average. Whether or not it will be super warm, too early to know.